Hey, and welcome to another episode of the Tim and Jim Show. I'm Tim Stone with Stone Social Media Solutions here, and this is not a green screen. This is the real forest behind my house. And I'm so excited to be here for this episode. We have an amazing guest, and I'm going to turn it over to my amazing co-host, Jim Fuse. How's it going, Mr. Jim?
It's going great. And in case you think I look a little different, well, maybe it is because I am using a new camera. All these creators are saying you got to go get a new camera. So I got the Sony ZV-E10, and so still working on a couple things with the lighting, but I really like. I can definitely tell the difference in how that works, and so, but excited to be here because not only is our guest an amazing person, consider him a friend, and he has done a lot for me personally in my own business in life. And I would tell you that one of the things that he did for me is I started working with Angus last year before COVID, and it was almost like one of those I couldn't have timed it any better, right, Angus? I mean, because Angus works specifically with men. Sorry, ladies, maybe someday he'll change his mind, but he does amazing things helping men get out of their own way. And so with that, Angus, welcome to the show, and tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got what you
Sure.
are
Well,
now.
thanks so much for having me, guys. First of all, like, you guys have come so far since the last time I joined you for your show. That intro, I was like, oh my God, this is so fun. And I'm seeing all my friends. I'm like, hey, on my end of the spectrum here. This is so fun. So yeah, great to be here. And Jim, as always, to watch your life become what it's become after we started working together. It's just such an honor and a treat, and just an absolute blessing to watch you shine, brother. So I'm in Nashville, Tennessee. I'm a men's performance coach. Most of my clients, are on this high performance scale. They're guys who know how to get stuff done and oftentimes get in their own way because they're high capacity, high ability. And as such, it's hard for them to let go. And so I help them let go of some of the things that have been successful until one point and help them get to the next level of success. And then the secondary part is echo that success, well, success could be, into their personal lives. And what does that look like to also bring a level of consciousness and a level of presence and a level of personal power into your personal life as well. So great to be here, guys.
Awesome.
I love that.
And so today we're going to talk about how to find meaning and purpose in business and in life. And so, Tim, do you want to start us out with question number one?
Drum roll, please.
I would love to, but first I would like to welcome everyone who's watching us. Shout out to Jim Fuse. Good morning, Jim Fuse. Shout out to Alex Chambers, Nancy Barrows, and everyone else who's tuning in from around the world. Thank you so much for being here. But yes, Jim, what is question number one? I'm in suspense here.
Well, I will bring it up just for you.
Well, thank you. So Angus, why is it important to have a coach to grow your business?
Well, first of all, when you understand that in order for your business to grow, you have to grow. This is one of the things that people don't understand is, like, if you're wanting to be quote unquote successful, if you're wanting to, make traction in your life, oftentimes the most important thing you can do is take care of yourself. And that may mean, kind of like what I was saying before, is if you're a high performer, high capacity or whatever, there are often blind spots that you have that you're not bringing into your business. Second of all, there's mindsets, the way you see yourself and the way you see what's possible. That can all be shifted and to help you elevate faster, to help you accelerate. But if you never get that outside input, if you never get a coach that can help you see past those blind spots and your limiting beliefs, then you're never going to be able to move as swiftly or as high as your potential is capable. It's been said that identity defines your destiny, how you see you. And getting a coach helps you to be able to see what you are. And oftentimes it's like we have stories in our minds, stories in our brains of what's possible, whether from our upbringing and the things we've experienced, or just through some of the influences that have been in our life, a parent, a friend, an athletic coach or a teacher. Someone spoke something in your life or did something in your life, and you gave it meaning and then defined yourself by that meaning. Oftentimes we carry that through the rest of our lives, and now the complexity of our lives is faced by this filter that we've placed in our head and then put that template into the world and said, this is just how it is. And a coach helps you kind of unlock that. It helps you to peel back the layers of BS that you've built around your own thinking process. And that can look in many different ways for many different people. And as a coach, it's like my honor to be able to help kind of turn a mirror to my clients and say, when you said this, this is what this means. Here's the long tail of that. If you follow the line of that continuum, this is what it's going to get you. Is that really what you want? And coaches help you to be able to filter your thinking and your being so that you can perform at your highest. And then the last piece of this, I would say, is that you can never outperform your perception of self. And so your business oftentimes will hit plateaus, and you'll like get to this level and it's like you're bumping up against the ceiling. It's like, why can't I get my business to go past this revenue level or get past this size of team or get past this number of clients? And there's typically almost 99% of the time an element having to do with how you see you. And it has very little to do with, the tactics, the strategies, and the implementations of your company. It doesn't matter about fulfillment. It doesn't matter necessarily about, customer acquisition or customer success. It has more to do about the leadership being able to get a mind that is wrapped around giving themselves the liberty and the permission to excel. And this is what coaches do. They help people get to those levels of kind of like pushing the right buttons and pulling the right levers to help them go to the next level.
Yeah. And that's so powerful, Angus. I mean, like when we work together, it's so important. And I think a lot of business people don't look at it. They look at it the wrong way. You've got to have a coach. You've got to have someone that, they're there for you, but they're that unbiased, like, look, I'm going to tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear.
Mm-hmm.
Because otherwise, if you have somebody's like, hey, you're doing a great job, keep going at it. Well, you didn't do that to me. You were on me and you told me you got to do these things. And until you do, you're not going to move forward. And I think coaching is so important for business owners. It's a necessary investment in yourself.
Mm-hmm. And, a really good coach kind of had influence in my life. And I've invested well over $100,000 in my own personal development, through coaches and mentors and my own learning. And I had a great coach that said to me, you have to be less committed to the outcome than your client, because otherwise it becomes me trying to drive someone for an expected outcome. And that's not the point. The point is for me to help you create your own expected outcome, because what I've learned is if I try and do things in my own power, and this is, across the coaching industry, and then sometimes we can get to a place where we're pushing for our own, ego or narcissism, and we want to win, we want a testimony, we want, that whatever, versus I have endeavored myself to like set men free. I at some point in time, a little over, almost 15 years ago, I decided that men are sometimes basket cases in many realms. And it's a tough world that we're in right now, understanding what masculinity looks like. And so part of what I'm doing is, not just helping them see about their businesses, but see about themselves. And so it's a vested interest for me to help a man possess their personal power so that they no longer need me. I don't want to be the crutch. I don't want to be the dependent. I want to be the person that sets my clients free. And that's a very different kind of approach than some people in the industry. And when you find a coach that's, got that kind of commitment, it actually helps you move faster, because now it is on you to receive and to apply, some of these elements, and then to experience that level of freedom, that level of power, that level of confidence. And yeah, so I'm watching you go to these whole new levels and whole new heights because I was a little hard on you at times, but I did what you needed in those moments. And that's what is so important with a coach, is to have someone who can see those things in you and be able to extract and pull them out. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. You're like, oh my God, you're right. That's so true. And now I have something to work with.
Yeah, I think too, right? One of the things even that we had talked about is, when you said, "What do you do?" Right? I was like, "Well, I'm a digital marketer." You're like, "There's what, thousands, maybe millions of people that call themselves digital marketers."
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where we came up with, marketing the Marine Corps way. How do you make yourself different? And I wouldn't have done that, without your help and really taking a look at it from an outsider's perspective of how we could get there. And I know, yeah, Tim dropped off momentarily. I'm sure he'll be back, but as we say in live streaming, the show must go on. But we're going to go to question number 2.
Yeah.
And that is, how do we get out of our own way, Angus, to become successful?
Yeah. I would say, getting out of your own way, this is, something people say and I say it. And so it can mean different things to different people. The first thing I would say is, and you and I have done this, we go back to the great oracles of the UK, the sirens that challenged us, called the Spice Girls, who said, tell me what you want, what you really, really want. And this is the thing that we don't realize, is like, we have to determine what is it we want first. And when I ask somebody, like, what do you want? Oftentimes they'll tell me what they don't want. Well, I don't know exactly what I want, but what I do want is X, Y, and Z. And so for you to get out of your own way, it means you have to be able to see the horizon. You have to be able to see where you're going first. Like, what is it I truly want in life? And people will say, well, some might say, I want that, that certain house. I want that office. I want that income. I want that spouse. I want that ... And I was like, that's cool. Yeah. Well, what is it about that thing that you feel it will give you? And then they're going to go on to say something like, well, I'll feel like I'm validated, or I feel like I'm satisfied or fulfilled, or I'll feel meaningful. I'm like, cool. So what if we just short circuit this, and instead of seeking the house, the spouse, and the kids, and the things and the money, what if we just go to that? What if every day you got focused on going after satisfaction, fulfillment, happiness? Like, what if each day was an expression and an overflow of that kind of being? Like, that changes your priorities and changes the way that you see the things that you're, addressing. And there's an acronym for today. It says, the only day actually yours. And so first you have to get very clear on what you want, so that each day that's actually yours, you're doing things that are moving you towards what you actually want. And then once you have that clear trajectory, the second piece of that is you ask yourself, well, who must I become in order to achieve these things I see in my heart? Like, whatever it is that you've got this vision, you put that into your mind, into your heart, into your soul, into your being, into your intuition. And now you've got some substance to work with. So I'm clear what I want. Second is, who must I become in order to do it? Because the rule is, first you must see it, then you can be it. Until you can see yourself in light of that thing that you want, you can never actually be it. And another old Nandy's tune, free your mind and the rest will follow, right? It's like we have all these limitations that if we can get those out of the way and see that things are possible, then suddenly they can become possible. And the third piece to all of this is, who do you need on your team, or who do you need in your corner? So what do you want, right? Number one. And then number two is, who must you become? And number three is, who do you need on your team? Because oftentimes for people to really get out of their own way, to really truly be successful, they have to stop doing all the things. They need to delegate. They need to actually build a team. Find somebody who can do what you do 80% of the way. Find somebody who's going to help make your life easier and simpler so you can focus on the things in your business that truly matter. You hire A-team players. Don't buy into the fact that you just need, somebody who can just, push the pencil. Well, push the pencil, that's old school. You can just, fill in blanks, right? It's more than that. You need someone that has a little bit more conscientiousness, someone who has some intention, someone who has some intuition. Like, once you train them, let them be able to run with it and take ownership of things. And if they can do it 80% as well as you can come in and kind of coach the rest. And then your role is to focus on the outcomes. Like, what are we doing each day in our business to get to where we want? Let's measure that, because what you measure, you can change. What you measure, you can move. And then you can cast vision for your team and apply your passion into your customers, put your passion into the clientele and the colleagues that you've built around your team. And now all of a sudden you're getting out of your way because you're applying these simple principles of getting really clear on what you want, putting a focus on who you must become in order to fulfill it, seeing it, visualizing it, rehearsing it in your mind and in your imagination. And then third, gathering the people that are going to help you get there, either on your team or people who are in your corner, mentors, coach, other colleagues, collaborations, people that can be your affiliates, all sorts of ways this can bake out. But those are like three primary pieces that I know will help people get out of their own way.
Well, and I think one of the things you hit on too that is so important is who we surround ourselves with. I think it's Jim Rohn that says we become the average of the 5 people that we kind of spend the most time with. And so you have to ask yourself, the sad thing is sometimes, and Angus, I'm sure you're aware of this, right? Sometimes family isn't always the people that are truly rooting for your success as much as you may think that. And that can be a very tough thing to deal with, is that to realize that, they're not really wanting to see you succeed. There's almost like a jealousy that happens.
Mm-hmm. And understand that that's normal. Like, you can have lots of people with you, but they're not always for you.
Right.
And in that same, respect, and I'm sure we'll get into this in some of the other questions, is like, you start elevating who you are, how you see you, and you'll start attracting and creating higher level conversations, higher level opportunities, higher level relationships, because we attract like. And so if you're experiencing stuff, and I can go deeper into some of the stuff if you want, but our psychology says that we're going to attract, the kinds of people that validate how we see ourselves. And so the people that you are around currently are the people that you've accepted. You've obligated yourself to say that this is cool, this is fine. But the moment you start upgrading yourself, your inner identity, and this is the stuff we'll get into here on some of your other questions, is now all of a sudden you rise to a different level. You start attracting different opportunities, and the people of old, oftentimes, if they aren't for you, are like, hey, who do you think you are? Where do you think you're going? And you have to be able to separate yourself from them, because it's not personal. Some people are in your life for seasons, and some people are in your life for reasons. Some people are in your life forever, and you have to determine who this person is. And it's not something you sit down and make a list, Wednesday morning. All right, who's in my life coming out this season? Who's in my life that's getting in the reason? No, I'm not saying that. It's like just acknowledging and giving yourself grace that when you start to see relationships shift, that no, it's okay. That it's okay to move on and move ahead, and not to take it too personally, and not necessarily, here's something we understand is sometimes we think when people become successful, they become jerks. And that's not true at all. Like, success or money or whatever just only echoes or magnifies who you truly are. So if you were a douchebag before you had money, you're an even bigger douchebag when you have money. But if you're a cool, lay it down to earth person and you get money, you're still going to be a cool down to earth person with money or without. And so the perception of the other person, your success says more about them than it says about you. And so what they project is not yours to own. If they're projecting on you that you're a bad person, if they're projecting on you like you left them behind, if they're projecting on you, that's something in their own subconscious that they have to tackle, that they have to address. And you can't take that personally. You just love them where they're at and move on, just move forward and be available when you need to, but don't allow that kind of energy to make you think less of yourself. Because truly, your inspiration is by you continuing to strive for your success. And they will eventually figure it out and either choose to change their situation or not. So your success always inspires those around you, even if at first they don't like it. Because here's the truth. The biggest thing that can transform your life will at first offend you. It's going to piss you off before it pushes you forward. Someone's going to get in your face and they're going to say something. You're like, well, I don't know if I can say that word on this show, but you're like, damn, right? You're like, no, that can't be true. It just can't be true. And stings. And then you're like, I think he's right.
Son of a biscuit.
Right? And then you're like, all right. How do we do this? Somebody just asked, why does my coaching is only for men? Hi, Rose. Thanks so much for asking. I'll tell you what I just said real clearly before is I focus on men because men are who I seem to be able to help the easiest. Do all my principles exclusively stand for men? Absolutely not. But the stuff that I do is being able to help men in ways that I've experienced, because if I can tell my story real quick, I did what our prescribed, cultural thing is for men, is that we have to be strong. We have to go it alone. We can't show weakness, like all of that, crappy myths about manhood in my first business. And in my first business, I made a lot of mistakes. I was trying to build my business with my head down, working harder. We got into some debt. We put on a big music festival. Thunder showers came in. I lost $72,000 in a weekend. In that small little organization, that was a lot of money. And so I spent the next 2 years in my parents' basement with my wife trying to work to pay it all back, because I had this moral, compass that said I want to make sure that everybody got what was theirs. And in the force and pressure and noise of all that, I turned to pornography to cope. And then I felt guilt and shame because I came from a faith background and I shouldn't be doing this. This is not what I'm supposed to. But in porn, I felt like I had some sense of control when everything else in my life felt out of control. And everybody else was saying, you should quit this vision, quit this dream. Like, no, I'm going to do it. So now I felt I had to prove it to my wife, prove it to my family, prove it to the board, and now I'm drinking alcohol to cope with that pain. And now I've got addiction issues. And in short order, I blew up my business, my marriage. I blew up my sense of self. And it took me 3 years as a recluse of just trying to get counseling and try and put pieces together again. And then after that 3 years, there was this author who was down in Huntsville, Alabama. I read one of his books. I'm like, I need this guy to mentor me. And I put my house on the market, immediately moved to Huntsville, Alabama, sat under this guy for a year, and it changed my life. I went on and get into corporate America later and ran an association with Fortune 500 brands. I had 74 companies with over 200 seats. And I managed, these people who had gone to the best schools. They're making incredible money. They're working for companies you give your left arm for, like Walmart and General Electric and Ford Motor Companies, BMW, et cetera, et cetera. And a lot of them were miserable. And I started to see the same patterns in their lives that I saw from my past. And I'd be on calls talking more about this life and our focus of what's true and what's real, more than I was talking about digital transformation and innovation. And I realized I have a gift for coaching, and these are the guys I want to serve. So when people say you want to niche down, like my niche is not necessarily into an industry. My niche is I'm going after men, and I'm pulling them out and I'm waking them up, because the world needs better men who know how to love their spouses, who know how to guide their kids, and know how to support and use their strength from a place that positions other people for success. not the toxic masculinity that exists today, which operates out of deficit and weakness and insecurity. So that's the answer as to why I work with men.
Well, we appreciate you sharing your story, and Rose has an amazing live show called Women to Follow. So
Awesome.
definitely encourage you to check it out. So thanks for that question, Rose.
Well, before we go to the next question, because I know we got to take a second to gather that all in, because that was just a very powerful answer to that question. Is that we're going to get a short message from our friends at StreamYard, and we'll be right back.
And we are back dancing, doing the Tim dance. Angus, do you know the Tim dance? Do you know how this goes?
I don't. Show me the Tim dance.
Yeah, so you put your fingers together and you move them across the screen like this. It's pretty simple.
That's awesome.
So welcome back, everyone, to the Tim and Jim Show. We're here with Angus Nelson talking about businesses and purpose and deep things here. And so, Jim, where do we go from here with our conversation?
Yes. So the next question, Tim, are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's do the fancy drum roll. Angus, what are some tips to help us get our mindset ready for success?
Getting your mindset ready for success. So I would say, one of the things, and this is kind of like, we'll kind of dive deeper into some of this. First you understand that beliefs create behaviors. Like I said, how you see yourself means everything, and your beliefs create your behaviors. So understanding that is a truth, like you have to upgrade what you believe about you. And there's an old saying that says, what you hear about, you think about, you talk about, what you talk about, you ultimately will bring about. And what that looks like is the information that we've taken in. And as I shared before, some of the things that are influences of people in our lives or situations we've been in, or it might even be the stuff that you listen to in context of videos, movies you watch, music you listen to, whatever. It's funny, if you listen to a lot of booty shake, sexy music, you're going to finally, realize like, why do I feel so aroused? Well, it's because you're listening to this stuff and it's putting your brain in that context, in that state. And now that's the natural byproduct. Like a computer, the data you put in is the data you get out. And so in order to upgrade that, you need to change what it is that you're listening to, your beliefs around yourself, your beliefs around money and wealth, your beliefs around personal power. Like taking in that information is important because your brain will then take that information and process it. What you hear about, you think about. And once you've processed it, you'll start talking about it because now you've kind of made it your own. You've rationalized it and you've thought it through. And so once you start speaking it out, it's already a belief. And so if you want to know what you believe, listen to the words out of your mouth. And so, sometimes I've heard people say, oh man, that always happens to me. That never happens for me. Oh man, I'm such an idiot. And I'll say, is that really what you believe? And they'll go, oh no, I'm just kidding. I'm like, no, you're not. Those words are actually showing you what you believe about you. And so the power of our words is giving context to what's actually internalized inside. And so until you start to imagine and start to use that creative power that's within you for something good, you're always going to be stuck in those same ruts because you'll keep showing up in the blueprint of how you see you. And therefore you have nothing of substance to work with, because here's the next level of this. Your brain always seeks equilibrium. It wants to validate on a continual basis what you experience with what you believe. And so it will attract or create the experiences, relationships, opportunities that match how you see you. And so if you're like dating the same person over and over again with different face, it's because you're attracting your favorite pain. The way that they treat you on some level is a way you believe to be treated. If you're in your job and we're talking about, hitting those ceilings, if you're in your company and you're building your business, like when you hit those plateaus, there is something in your mind about what you believe about you, maybe what you deserve, what you're worthy, or do you have what it takes that's where you're going to be hitting those ceilings, because you've hit a limit of which your subconscious has said, we're good here. And it won't allow you to bust through those ceilings. And oftentimes in my coaching, that's what I like to tell people is I want to turn your ceilings into floors. Is we're going to bust through the things that used to stop you. And now that's the thing that you settle upon. That becomes your foundation, right? And then the thing we were talking about before is upgrading your associations as well. Like we imitate who we associate. What happens is once you start changing that identity, you start hanging around with a different sort of people, right? It's like if you're an eagle and you hang out with chickens, you'll act like a chicken. But if you're a chicken and hang out with eagles, guess what? You're going to start acting like an eagle. Like you will naturally become who you hang around. And so all of these areas are the things that become those belief systems getting transformed. And then the second piece of this, in how to get your mindset ready for success is expect success. We oftentimes plan for failure. We step out saying we want to do a thing, but in our mind, we're already second guessing things ahead of time. We're creating problems in our head that don't even exist yet. And so we are oftentimes in planning to fail, we will say, well, here's an old story. Like it didn't work this time, or it's not as cool as it was last time, or the economy looks like this, or ... And we'll start making excuses like, I hope it's going to work. I'm believing it will work. And all of that is saying, I'm not so sure it will. And you have to expect success. You have to push through those limited beliefs and replace them with new belief systems. Some people would say, once you start getting out of your comfort zone, you start pushing things, you start pushing what's possible, you'll some people would say imposter syndrome. You'll feel like, oh, I don't belong here. I'm with other people that are more successful or doing more things. And it's like, understand this. First of all, everybody's doing the best they can with what they got. They're all human. And so if you're in the room, understand that if you think or perceive that thing is perfect for them, likely behind the scenes, it is not. And second, if you got an invitation to the party, if you're in their presence, you're part of this association, this group, this, event or whatever, like you belong. If you got an invitation, you belong. And so never second guess you getting to these other spheres, these other echelons, these other levels. And then the last piece is, people would say, well, I have a fear of failure. And I just call BS on that. You don't have a fear of failure. You have a fear of success because you don't think you can become the person you see in your heart to become in order to achieve the thing you're supposed to achieve. And we have to reverse that script. We have to change that story. Is like, I was born for this. Everything in my life has prepared me for this. That life doesn't happen to me, it happens for me. It gives me wisdom and insight and an advantage for my future. And therefore, when you look at my story and the things that I've gone through and all that buffoonery, I know that it prepared and positioned me to this place of personal power that I currently have. And the confidence that I now bring is as a product of the work that I did inside. And I took 15 years to figure this crap out. And now I can help people do it in less than 15 months. That's pretty crazy. And for some, 15 weeks, which is even crazier. Because so much of this unlocks once you get this mindset into play. And this is what people don't understand is that the difference between who you are and where you want to be is nothing more than some mind switches, some mind shifts. Once you break those barriers, like things become possible. Every great athlete, every great performer, every great politician, every great, name it or whatever the great business person is, all of them had some influence in them that helped them shift to other levels. They may have had, natural talent. They may have had some natural brilliance or whatever. But in order for them to truly become what they become, they had some kind of consult. They had some kind of influence and community that helped them get there. Like these are the things that your mindset, just those shifts of your mind will help you get and accomplish and achieve.
Angus, this is, I'm just like, wow, this reminds me of when we were working together. And you've even brought this up before, right? The thing where we fall into, like, you would now be in these rooms, you're like, I shouldn't be here. I don't. So even in your case, right, we still run into that kind of that self-doubt creeps in like, wait,
Mm,
I don't deserve to be with these people, but you
yeah.
do. And I remember that was something that you shared with me that was really really a powerful thing to think about.
It's like I said before, it's like what you deserve, what you're worth, and do I have what it takes? Like these three questions are stuff that goes through our minds. You could have success and you'll be at a place where you're like, and I'm using success in quotes here, and you'll be like, my dad never made this much money. And suddenly that becomes a limiting belief. And now you'll start sabotaging things around you so that you can't break through that ceiling. Because I don't deserve to make more than what my dad made. You know, you'll have something like, well, I did this in my life. And so I feel some shame or pain around that. Like, I'm not worthy of being happy. I'm not worthy of having a great marriage. I'm not worthy of having a great relationship with my kids. You know, if you look at it from, you know, do I have what it takes? It's like, that's that thing where it's like, I see other people and I start slipping into comparison. I'm like, well, I'm not like that person. I'm not like that person. Who do I think who am I fooling? Self-sabotage. And I don't care where you are on the spectrum, you will have these kinds of gremlins on your shoulders speaking into you that you have to have information to combat. And as I stated before, you know, today is the only day actually yours, is like you have experienced the morning manifest, is like these exercises that on a daily basis, you're preparing yourself for success by going through these visualizations and this vision board, this, you know, affirmations and your worldview principles. And you're rehearsing this next level self so that you walk into your day from that place of power. Because if you don't, the day is going to infiltrate you. And suddenly the news, there's going to be a ping on your phone and all the world is going to hell in a handbasket. And you're like, oh, why are we even doing this? This is terrible. Oh my God. And you just lose your crap. Or no, I possess the power of my day and I lean into this with intention. I'm going to get some stuff done. And people will gravitate to that because, you know, ultimately, like, we all want to be around other people that inspire. And you're the one to inspire. You know, you're the one who the world needs. What was her name? Marianne Williamson had that quote. I'm going to pull it up real quick. Where is it? There's that quote where he says, you know, we were all made to shine as children do, right? Nobody plays off of you playing small. You know, nobody's going to get to that point. And the quote goes like this. It says, our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine as children do. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It is not in some of us, it's in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. So as we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. Like, wow. That's the stuff. That's the stuff.
That's amazing. So Angus, are you ready for our final question of the day? Because otherwise I could be here all day because
you just got me warmed up, man.
I feel like I'm in church and I'm ready for you to keep preaching.
Come on. Preach up.
What are some actions that we can take today to get ready to be coached? Because I think you see that when you decide if you're going to work with someone, are they ready? Because you have to be ready. It's not just like, oh, I'm going to get a coach. Because if you're not ready for it, it's a waste of both people's time.
Yeah. You know, the one thing I say, like, sometimes I send this text with people. I'm like, let's go. Right. Like, you got to be ready to go. The first thing is you got to be open and be receptive and be growth focused. Like, that's first and foremost. Like, you have to be willing to let go of what you've always known. Because it's like we have our hands like this, and this is our identity. This is, our things that we feel are valuable to us, and this is our environment. This is just what we know. And in this place, this feels safe, even if it's chaos. And at some point, you have to be willing to let go of the old in order that your hand can be open to take on something new. The second piece is you got to dig in deep and determine your why. Like, why is this important to you? And that stems from your want. You're like, what do I really want here? It's just, I want to be a better man. I want to be a better husband. I want to be a better boss. I want to be a better leader. I want to just be kinder to myself. And then find somebody who resonates with you. A coach is not a coach is not a coach. Like, you need somebody who's got your vibe. I am not everybody's cup of tea, and I don't want to work with everyone. There are certain personality traits that someone else would be way better working with than my personality. And that's okay. It's like, we all need each other. And so I want to attract the people that are going to get the most out of our relationship. So find the vibe, of the person that you want to work with. Make sure you resonate with that. And then number two is, have they been where you want to go? Or do they have experience on taking people there? Because there's some people who have been, and there's some people who know how to navigate. And so it's got to be somebody who's gotten somebody where you want to go, or someone who's been where you've gone or where you want to go. And the last piece is that they have proven results. Like, sometimes you just want to talk to some of their former clients. Don't just take the internet's word for it just because they're a testimony. It's like, hey, can I talk to some of these people? Like, do some due diligence. Like, those are some of the ways that you can prepare yourself into exploring this. And here's the last piece I'll say about that is, there's that old saying that says, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. Like in your life, it's like you were at a place where you were in transition, and then you and I, started to engage. You're like, aha, like, this is it. And the seeds are planted. And over time, those seeds take roots, and then they start to grow, and then they start to blossom. These are the things where we are genuinely having to trust, like, the universe is working for us, and trust that as people are coming into our lives, like, the spirit of serendipity sometimes is really orchestrated by really bigger things than ourselves. And I lean into that. I get a little woo, I believe that there's so much more than what we believe, which is why I call my product is the manhood matrix. In the same way that if you've seen that movie, what we see is not all that there is. And we acquiesce to that. We default to say that what we're experiencing right now is the only way. And I'm here to say it's not. And we can pluck you out of that matrix that you find yourself in so that you can see a different perspective and now take different action and get different results. That's when the real magic happens.
Yeah, like you said, you did so much for me, and it was like you said, it was that neither one of us could predict, but the timing ended up being perfect because of what we went into. I will tell you right now, right? Call this a testimonial if you want. If I hadn't worked with you, Angus, when I did, these last months since COVID started would not have been, I would not be where I am today, which right now is, like I told you when we got to see each other in Lima, my business has never been more successful. And I owe a lot of that to taking the actions that you drove me to do. It is the morning manifest. It is seeing those things that we laid out that I'm actually achieving. And now it's like, now I have to redo things because now it's ready to move it to the next level.
Come on.
And that's where the coaching is so important, because if I didn't have a coach, if I didn't have someone that was helping me, get out of my own way, because I definitely could see that at times that, that's what prepares you for success.
Yeah.
And so, Angus, I know you actually have an offer for our audience, and I'm going to share it in the comments. And that is, you have a 7 steps, or what do we call it? It's the 7 most powerful questions to change your life.
Yeah.
And so we're going to put that in the, I'm putting it on in the LinkedIn comments, as well as it should be showing up on Facebook and the other spots as well, for those of you that really want to think about working with Angus, because I would highly recommend. Well, and here's the thing, like you said, Angus isn't going to be for everyone, but for those of you that there is that synergy, I would say, I don't care if you have to take out a loan, you should do it. It's definitely worth it, and it will change not only your business but your personal life, because it's not just about business, right, Angus? You also talk about all those things, like what is it that you want to see your life like?
Yeah.
Because people forget about all those other things, like who do you want to help? Who do your relationships, right? I mean, I love how you talked about that earlier, because I think I was guilty of that before I went to, and I'm not ashamed to say it, went to therapy. I kept putting myself in the same sort of relationships
Mm.
when I first got divorced, not realizing that there was something in the back of my mind that I kept wanting to be I guess you call it the helper.
Yeah.
I'm going to fix these people,
Mm.
and that's not going to happen.
Yeah. And it's funny, like those titles we give ourselves, when I talk to people and like, well, how do you see yourself? And they say, well, I'm a fighter, I'm a warrior, I'm a king. And I'm like, well, let's kind of break down those things. If you're a fighter, you're a warrior, you're always going to need a battle. You're always going to tract. Like that metaphor is what you're asking for. If I'm just the king, it's like, oh, that's cool, but then you got to run a kingdom, and you're going to need, to run all that stuff. Like there's some responsibilities. Like, what if instead you're like, I'm a lover. I'm always attracting people to love and give grace and give empathy and compassion. Like it changes that dynamics of how you show up. For all of you that are watching, who from, a business perspective, your personal life, everything in your business is a reflection of that. And if your personal life is jacked, it's just a matter of time before your business gets jacked. And what I've seen so many times is men will run to their business as their mistress, because in business they feel like they have some kind of influence, whereas maybe at home they don't. And it's because they haven't done the work to become the man they need to become at home that would actually fuel them to be even more successful in their business. And so we get it back to the front. And so they go and they work harder and harder at work, and they continually to exhaust themselves in pursuit of something they're never going to find, because they're chasing down the wrong path. But man, when we make those little switches, those little changes, like everything changes. And ladies, the 7 most important questions to change your life, those powerful questions, like, yeah, they work for you too. You can take it. It's going to be okay. No one's going to get offended if you take those as well.
So Angus, people, you can connect with Angus at Angus Nelson, I think, on just about all the socials. And then we've got his offer in there. And next week, we are going to have a guest that Tim is bringing on, and that's going to be Jen Zahari. And so Jen Zahari will be with us next week at 11 o'clock Eastern. I know we sometimes have an international show. Angus, this has been amazing. You are amazing as always, and so glad that we were able to get you on the show. Thank you so much for your wisdom, your guidance. I think that hopefully some of what you shared today will get someone in the audience, whether they're watching live or on replay, to take action. And I think, because I think that's ultimately what we both like to do, is we like to see other people succeed. And so whether it's with Angus, someone else, get a coach, get yourself right, and you can be as successful as you choose to be.
Come on. Yeah. I want to see you win. Whoop, whoop.
All right, everyone. We will see you next week on the Tim and Jim Show, and make sure to check out Angus's questions and also to, share this with some of your friends that could really use these words of wisdom. Take
Cool.
care, everyone.
Thanks, y'all.